Now you have up to 3 helmets per team, and the Vikings with the white helmet last night, taking on the Chicago Bears and getting the victory 30-12. It's PFT Live presented by Accenture here on Peacock, Sirius XM 85, Sky Sports NFL podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And the Vikings are now 12-2. Look, to me, this is the time the regular season's over. When I was a kid, 14 games was it. So in my mind, it was all 9-5, 10-4, 8-6, 7-7. And it took me a while to get used to adding 2. It's taken me a while to get used to adding 3. We got 3 games left for all teams, 48 games left. And Chris and I were talking about this yesterday, Devin. There isn't a lot to be decided on the back end of the playoff field. Like, we kind of know who the teams are, definitely in the AFC. Probably in the NFC. It's just Washington, or will someone pick them off? But the top of both conferences is in flux, and now you got a 3-team logjam at 12-2. Detroit, Philadelphia, Minnesota.
And Minnesota's kind of the team that I feel like people have kind of forgotten. And they've just been sitting there, continuing to get wins. It doesn't always look pretty. It's not always the best game that you might go watch, even as we get into breaking down the game last night against Chicago. But Kevin O'Connell said it in the locker room, like, enjoy this, because getting 12 wins in the National Football League isn't easy. And what that always reminds me of, when teams continue to win, you get this level of confidence that throughout a game, it's going to work out. You're going to make the play. So then you become a hard out for any team you play, or down this stretch, if Minnesota or Philadelphia slips up, you become that team that, hey, you guys aren't talking about us as much, but we've just continued to win. And if they slip up, and I'm sure the Minnesota in their locker room, throughout their building, they're talking about it. If they give us a chance, we'll get in there and we'll take that number 1 seed, and we'll get to play our games at home. So credit to Minnesota, I think, especially for Kevin O'Connell, to keep this group just moving the same way, ignoring all of the noise, not worrying about being talked about, not worrying about if a game isn't the perfect game. Sam Darnold, if he doesn't play the best possible game, just ignoring everything else. And you can feel it even in the game, during the game, when they interviewed him. And he said, I have so much confidence in how Darnold's playing. It's just amazing. I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. And when you hear a coach talk like that, I think that's usually contagious throughout the football team, of how confident everybody feels in him, no matter how the game previously went or something that happened before. They're just confident that he can go out there and make the plays to win. And he's done that for this team this year.
Creates an awkward situation, to say the least, for next year. What will the Vikings do by way of keeping Sam Darnold, letting him go? Chris and I were talking about this last week after his 5-touchdown performance against the Falcons. You almost have to let him go and see what's out there and see if he can find a starting job at not market value, but north of the midpoint of market value. But there aren't going to be an overabundance of teams that are definitely looking for quarterbacks. But he's playing so well that if you are one of those teams, you have to at least take a close look at it. And the challenge will be separating the Jets/Panthers Darnold from the Vikings Darnold and asking yourself a very simple question. Unless he can bring Kevin O'Connell with him, are we going to see a repeat of 2024?
And that's the hard thing. I think as you look out there, I think for some other teams, there's question marks of who's going to run your offense. You look at some of these teams like the New York Giants of, is Brian Daboll still going to be there? And if Brian Daboll is going to be there, does the front office and everybody think, hey, we believe in Daboll and what he could do with this quarterback because of how Daniel Jones played in year 1, because of the development of Josh Allen? And then the second part of like a New York Giants football team is, how's the reaction going to be if Sam Darnold has one bad game playing in New York? Is it going to be like, oh, here we go again? And I wonder, for Sam Darnold, you did that the start of your career. Do you want to go back in that? He fully knows what it means to play in the New York, New Jersey media kind of atmosphere. Does he want to enter back into that, or does he avoid that? And then I think for Sam Darnold as a veteran, I remember talking to him in 2022 at training camp when he was in Carolina trying to find his way, and we were talking about just different plays in the practice from our joint session. I think he's a guy that he's going to try to also make sure he gets in a quarterback comfortable situation, that he feels like he is set up to go play his best football. You look at the last 2 years playing for Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco as a backup and then going to Minnesota and playing for Kevin O'Connell. I think he sees how important it is to have the right guy behind you, to have the guy that's going to be the quarterback whisperer or the guy in your corner that's going to draw things up, that'll help you be productive. He sees the value in that. So I think for even him, he's going to try to evaluate the whole situation and see what's the best thing for him to go make a lot of money, but also play the best football that he can play in his career.
I want you to answer this question, Devin, without giving it any thought. First number that comes to your head. How old is Sam Darnold?
25.
Wow. You went under. 27. See, I was thinking you would think he's been older because it kind of feels like he's been around forever. 2018 draft class, but he's only 27 years old. He's got a lot of football left in him. He's got 10 years of football left in him. The question is, where does he play it? Will he want to roll the dice on a team where maybe he doesn't get the same level of football education? Would he want to stay in Minnesota and basically have the attitude, I don't care that you spent 10th overall pick on J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. I'll take all comers. I want to stay here because this is where I can get the most out of my career. And I look at it this way. The guys who can't deal with the in-house competition are never going to deal with the highest level of competition, right?
Yep. And I think about that even more. You're not going to be able to deal with sometimes being in a whole different media market that forget the in-house competition. You basically are competing against your last performance or your best performance every single week. So I agree with you. I think Sam Darnold is going to be smart. I think ultimately you can't turn away from kind of life-changing money or an opportunity to be a starter on a team that you think can go win. But I think when you watch players, and I think sometimes no one talks about this, when you watch a player play a season and he looks comfortable and he's playing good football, we don't think about how he feels every single day going into work, how he feels leaving work and going home, because at the end of the day, players are still people. And I think Sam Darnold's probably having the time of his life right now. You're throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. You have one of the best groups of skill receivers you can have to throw to. You're winning football games. You're 12-2. This is the same guy that got ran out of New York and, he was seeing ghosts and all of this crazy stuff. And now you look at him, I think about the joy he's probably having playing football. He has to try to balance and think about that of, will I still have this kind of joy if I'm not starting every single game? Or if I have to go out there and JJ comes in as a number one guy and I have to go take it. He has to think about that. And I think if he kind of sits back and says, I still would rather be on this football team, then I agree with you. I think there is a chance he goes back and says, hey, me or JJ McCarthy, I think I went out, and he'll have to go and find somewhere else to play eventually, and I'll still be here as a starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings.
The list of teams that clearly will be looking for starting quarterbacks is not along with the New York Jets. I doubt. That would be a hell of a story. I doubt we see. We've already seen a Mike Tannenbaum sort of reunion with the Jets. I doubt we see a Sam Darnold reunion with the Jets. You got the Tennessee Titans. Chris has been banging that drum, and that makes sense. Brian Callahan, a quarterback guy, assuming he doesn't get blown out after 1 year, and I doubt that he will. But with the Titans, you never know what they're going to do with their head coach. I mean, this is a team that fired Mike Vrabel for crying out loud. Who's going to be one of the short list go-get-him guys this year. The Las Vegas Raiders will be looking for a quarterback. The Giants, as you mentioned, undoubtedly looking for a quarterback. And then the New Orleans Saints. Those are the ones who stand out. Maybe Seattle because they got Geno Smith on a year-to-year thing. Let's see if they make it to the playoffs or not. If they don't, I could see them deciding we need to try to do better. And I was saying yesterday, they need somebody who's a face of the franchise. The 12s aren't showing up. The 12s aren't engaged. There's no excitement there. There's no Jerry Jones there in the ownership suite who's getting everybody excited. There's no player that gets it. There's no one in that organization that's getting the Seattle fans excited. Maybe they try, not that Sam Darnold is going to be a Joe Namath in Seattle, but maybe they feel like they need to shake something up. So that's it. So if somebody isn't going to give him gigantic money, the question is how much will the Vikings pay him while they have J.J. McCarthy on a rookie contract? And I think a lot of it depends upon how far they get this year. Do they get close? Do they get close enough that it's tantalizing and there's a desire to try it again next year? A lot of things to be determined. A lot of football left to be determined. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.